Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Welcome back. Second intermission. Avs, Red Wings. Each team adds a goal in that second frame. Megan, so we end up right back where we started. 1-goal lead for the Avs at the break. This time it's 2-1. I think a lot to unpack from that period. The way I saw it, a little bit of ebbs and flows for Avs top players. You do get a power play goal. I think you have a really strong penalty kill, and you give one up kind of late, which makes everything feel a little bit worse. And I think also shines some light on some areas that you really need to make sure that you want to be better at going into this third period. This Red Wings team has really not played well lately. They really do need the points. So you know that they are going to be desperate. Megan, your thoughts overall on that second period for the Avs?
I think it was huge for them to finally convert on the power play. We kind of teased Detroit's penalty kill has been struggling this year. As of late, they've been trending in a better direction, but still among the league worst. And we thought, okay, this is a great opportunity for the Avs to get things right on their power play. I think that was really important to set the tone of this period early, but it is important to note that Detroit is pushing back and looking to climb back into this game now, leading in the shots battle, generating not only more opportunities, but more dangerous opportunities, particularly in that second period. It does punctuate then pretty good performance from Georgiev to the point of frustrating Detroit. So
Yep.
I'm excited to see Georgiev stay locked in through that second period because Colorado spent a little more time in their own end comparatively. I think on the whole, though, the Avs are still doing some things well in terms of puck management, lane management, but they're going to have to be really careful of their details in the third period because this is only a 1-goal difference. And it's going to continue to be really tight, I think, based on Detroit's push there in the second period, which makes then the defensive efforts coming up with some big blocks. This is a team leading in block shots right now. Really important coming out of the second, and shines a light on that Cale Makar goal and just how important it is.
Well, and I'm glad that you brought up, just how much we talked about needing to make sure that power play gets back going and not only scoring goals, producing, but being a way to generate momentum for the Avs and being an actual threat for the Avs. That was, it felt like too many times in the last handful of games. They weren't even a threat. They weren't even something there to help generate offense, generate any kind of buzz. Felt like they did that so far here tonight. All right. Well, we talked about wanting to see that second line continue to go. Megan, I actually thought they started the period with 2 outstanding shifts back to back, generating a lot of zone time, puck on their stick a lot. I thought Casey Middlestat looked really creative, generating, some nice lanes and cuts, things like that. And the second great shift leads to that penalty, hooking penalty against Ross Colton. The infraction was against Ross Colton, which does lead to the power play, which is that Cale Makar goal. And I want to talk about that goal because I noticed something interesting. You and I talked in the last game, I believe it was maybe post-game against Carolina Hurricanes, about how they really were taking away time and space from the Avs' top players around the outside of the zone. Rantanen, Makar, McKinnon, that they were really limiting that time and space, not giving them a lot of room to snap the puck around or even be much of a shooting threat. And it feels like several teams have keyed in on that. Megan, JT Compher was cheating towards that bumper spot with Arturi Lehkonen there in the middle. Nathan McKinnon tried to force it through once, and that really felt like it drew JT Compher there. And when the puck swung back out high, he didn't rotate out. So the player that was covering Nathan McKinnon was trying to get over to defend Cale Makar. Just too much ground to make up. So it was nice to see the Avs, kind of like what you talked about at the end of that first intermission, their top guys be given a little bit of daylight, and they took every inch of it, and now a pretty important second goal to this point.
To date, the last 15 games for Colorado, just 8 power play goals through 44 opportunities. It's last 2 games, no power play goals. It's been important for them to get this back on track. And I think it's an important point that previously McKinnon's earlier chance that is blocked that baits JT Compher out of position would be one where that puck just isn't recovered. It's also important that McKinnon keeps this play alive by coming back up with his puck after that play is incomplete and reloading to Makar out high. What I like too is Makar, he toes the balance of holding onto the puck, carrying it to that open space just for a split second to find a better play to be made.
Yep.
I've been critical of them for holding on to it too long in search of the perfect play, but this was a good decision from Cale Makar because he capitalized on the mistake of Detroit's PK, and it was good time and space for him to take up and take a better shot then from that point. And I want to shout out Nichushkin's awareness at the net front too.
Outstanding in front of the net.
He's a huge body, but it is not as simple as just being a big body in front of the net. He is scanning that play with his eyes and moving and sliding across the top of the crease to ensure that he cuts Husso's line of vision perfectly. And I think that is such an important part of this play too, in addition to a lot of good decisions and a good puck recovery from McKinnon on his incomplete play at the start of it.
Great call out on Nichushkin. He's, again, just such an important part of what he brings to this lineup. We mentioned, I believe it was just on the pod earlier this week. That's one of the things that you do lose when it comes to on the ice without having Gabe Landeskog is that stable net front presence among the league's best in front of the net. With Val Nichushkin, you get that back. And I'm with you. I thought that was some elite play there in front of the net for Val taking away Husso's eyes. Megan, not long after that, the Detroit Red Wings got a chance on the power play. I thought it was a really good penalty kill for the Avs. I thought they were aggressive. Logan O'Connor in particular stood out a couple of times, making some really nice plays out high, forcing the puck out of the zone, forcing the Red Wings to be uncomfortable. Avs were able to get a couple changes in there. Just a really strong penalty kill that they were able to build on. And just for how much emphasis we have put on special teams and them not being quite where they need to be, it was nice to see the Avs have a strong power play, followed by what I thought was a pretty good penalty kill.
Thought it was a good penalty kill. They only allow one scoring chance for on behalf of Detroit. And I had a little more confidence that the penalty kill could improve upon what we saw in Carolina, just because it felt like the mistakes that they made were straying from the process. And it looked like they got back into what they needed to be doing systems-wise on that PK, didn't abandon it, and I think that leads to successful results.
I'm with you. And then I made a quick note. I believe it was on that 4-on-4. Detroit kind of sprung loose on a quick 4-on-2, and there's just a really nice defensive play from McKinnon. And to me, when you're noticing Nathan McKinnon in all three zones is when he's at his best. It's when he's activated the most. And I noticed that there was a very self-aware defensive play that Nathan McKinnon made getting back on that. All right, well, a couple big saves from Alexander Georgiev, particularly right in front of the net. Big stop, and then finds a rebound, and then a broken play at the top of the zone. Avs look like they're going to get out. Red Wings are able to keep it in. JT Compher kind of found himself on a mini 2-on-0. Thought a nice play from Keaton Middleton to completely take away a potential cross-seam pass from Compher to DeBrincat, forcing Compher to kind of just have to take a shot. Georgiev with a really nice stop.
Yeah, his blocker, exactly where he needs to be, going back to, what good positioning is, good goaltending, to the point of frustrating Compher. And I think that was the difference in Georgiev from even just one to second period is everything felt so much more intentional on his behalf. And that's why the goal against later in the second period, I'm not hanging Georgiev for that one. There's four bodies in front of him. It's not really even a screen. It's an entire wall of big bodies in front of him and a shot from relative distance that gets tipped in. It's just really hard to ask much more of Georgiev, especially seeing the pushback from Detroit coming up with more high danger opportunities in this second period.
I'm in my notes. I put there's nothing that Georgiev could do. Maybe the only thing that you could point at is maybe be a little bit taller. He did kind of make himself a little bit small in net, but I'm with you. I am nowhere near going to hang that one on Georgiev. I think this has been one of his better games of the season so far. You want to see him close it out strong. Megan, I thought the Avs looked like they were playing in control in that period. Not necessarily controlling the play, but in control of themselves. I thought they looked calm, collected, they looked cohesive, but in my opinion, not enough play north. And I know that's maybe an obvious comment, given that they have only generated, I believe it's 14 shots when the period ended. I don't know if that number has been adjusted. Just not quite enough offense, not quite enough dangerous chances. They're not really giving up anything crazy the other way. Maybe a few too many grade A's that Alexander Georgiev has had to stop. And that's maybe those two things combined. Avs needing to play a little bit more north and Georgiev having to come up with maybe one or two too many big saves. There's an adjustment that needs to be made going into this third period if you want to hold on to a 1-goal lead.
I think it's important to note that Detroit made more of a push and tilted the ice in their favor, and Colorado wants to tilt that back then and make this a little bit more of a level playing field, especially based on how they played in that first period. And I think some of it's score effects too. I think Detroit's making the harder push because they're chasing this game and they're desperate to get back in the win column. Colorado, though, I think is still on solid footing. You use the word cohesive, and I think that's a good word for it. Limiting any giveaway opportunities, leading in block shots, leading in hits, making good decisions defensively, but just a little bit too much time in their own end. I think that this is something that I'm still seeing, though, the dividends of Ross Colton back in the lineup. Similarly, on that 4v2, McKinnon's defensive play being strong there, I think it's worth noting. You look at the usage of the top six, and it's a difference of only a couple shifts line by line, at least through the top 9, I should say. That fourth line is being pretty sheltered, but there's 3 lines being used truthfully as 3 lines at this point. And Ross Colton is making a big difference in this game after having missed so much time, blocking shots, digging for pucks along the wall, creating havoc in home plate with Nichushkin in the final seconds of that period. Nichushkin's powering down the slot. Ross Colton's trying to stuff the puck home. A couple of high danger opportunities between those 2 players alone. There's a lot of positives then in what's been going on. And you mentioned great shifts from that second line at the top of the period. Casey Middlestat, a nifty drop pass for extended zone time. There are positives to build upon from the second period. But they do have to not let this game get away from them, because it's obvious Detroit is mounting a comeback attempt, and they're not going to go away quietly.
Well, you mentioned the frustration from JT Compher, and on the other side of that, what's the right word? Not motivation. Just the way that Dylan Larkin reacted on that goal, really firing guys up as they're going to the bench to go through the fist bump line, just really kind of trying to galvanize his group of like, hey, we got one, we're right back in it. Let's go, trying to build on things. So not only the frustration from the Red Wings, but once they got one to go, the confidence that did seem to build. Like I said, I think the Avs have played a good game here, especially this being on the road. First night of a back-to-back. You didn't love your game 2 nights ago. I think this has been a nice response, but I want to see them gear it up for the third period. I think you need to be a little bit better. I think you need to be more dangerous offensively, and you can't just sit back and try to protect this 1-goal lead. It's too thin of a margin. Detroit has some guys that can make plays, and you just don't want to leave it this close and give Detroit 20 minutes to just tee off trying to get 1 goal. And then if they can get 1, they can build on it, potentially get another. I think I want to see the Avs go back on the offensive here. Do not sit back and just try to defend this thin of a margin.
Yeah, I think that's the danger of what is presently the problem. It's that Detroit is within striking distance. The Avs need to grant themselves a little bit more insurance and close it out in the third period pretty solidly, because they have another game to play tomorrow. They don't need this going outside of regulation. Put this game to bed. Start really strong in that third period and put this game to bed with a dominant effort.
And then last thing I'll say, just building off of your point right there, you want to see the depth continue to contribute here, particularly that second line, particularly that third line. Be strong defensively, help them get 1 more. But like you said, see what you can do to help limit the amount of minutes that your top guys are going to have to play, knowing that you've got another game coming up tomorrow. Megan, getting ready to drop the puck on the third period. Any final thoughts for you about any things you want to see from the Avs, see them start doing, stop doing, anything like that in addition to what you just laid out?
No.
That's going to do it, guys. We'll be back for a post game right here as soon as the game ends. Avs carrying a 2-1 lead into the third period. We will see if they can hold on to it. Alexander Georgiev has been good. What does he have in store for the third period? She's Meghan Angley. I'm Jesse Montano. We will talk to you in just a little bit. Thanks, guys.